would you deal with, when it comes to abortion law, a doctor just going, you want to get an abortion? I hereby sign this baby has a 99% chance of death, so we're good. Doctor says so. Kill the baby.
Doesn't that sound like a medical malpractice suit waiting to happen, plus a murder charge, in my opinion?
Oh, sure. I mean,
they'll find ways to prove it. I mean, if we got, if you make it a mandate, like to where these doctors have to go to jail for performing abortions, there's going to be ways to prove it. I mean, it's got to be a criminal justice thing. If we prosecute murders, right? Look, we prosecute anybody can murder today, right now, right? And we prosecute murderers.
Yeah, the idea that a doctor could make a mistake and then you're going to find intent on that. The issue becomes, like many people have said, the issue with no-fault divorce. I've said no-fault divorce is bad. The response is, without no-fault divorce, women will falsely accuse their husbands of rape. And how do you deal with that?
Women already do that.
And now that's right.
Even with no-fault divorce.
And it'll get substantially worse. I don't think that's an argument. I think we should still get rid of no-fault divorce. No. If you don't want to get married, don't get married. But the issue then is not that it's the majority position, not that you shouldn't ban abortion. I'm saying, simple question, how do you deal with doctors who lie? Is it we try to investigate them? I think the reality is, if you say a doctor can give medically necessary abortions will always be permitted, like, look, the baby's going to die and you're going to die. Doctor says so.
No, I think only if a woman's going to die. I think that's the cutoff point. To me, that's the abolitionist, and that's it has to be
not
proven.
If the baby's going to die.
I mean, the doctors say that the babies aren't going to survive all the time, and they do. So why would we risk murdering somebody just because there's a chance they might not make it? I mean, that's insane. It's an insane. If we really get to like the crux of this argument in the United States today about this thing, like it's really disgusting. It's really disgusting to think about the fact that we treat unborn children as like completely expendable. It's completely expendable in the United States today.
So if a woman is pregnant and the baby has no brain.
If the baby has no brain, I mean, if the baby's developing with no brain, then the baby's not alive. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. That baby's not alive.
Baby's got no lungs.
That baby's not alive. You don't survive without lungs.
Okay, so now we're getting to it. So you are saying there are many circumstances in which a doctor's orders could result in abortion of the baby.
I don't. I mean, yeah. If the baby's it's an ectopic pregnancy that I mean, you're going to know that within. What, 6 weeks?
This is literally what I was asking.
Max,
this
right?
This is literally what I'm asking.
But here's the thing: is we're throwing up all these different hypotheticals. The fact of the matter is that 99% of abortions are elected. They're elected. So we're talking 1 million babies a year. Okay, 99% of those are elective abortions where there was nothing wrong with the baby. Their mother wasn't going to die. Okay, there wasn't even rape or incest or whatever it is that the left throws at you when you say that murder should be illegal. Okay, so we're talking about hypotheticals. Sorry. So
you ban it.
I would ban it. Yes, absolutely. I'm the only abolition candidate running today in the United States because I think that murder's wrong and it should stay wrong, and we need a society.
And no exemptions or some exemptions. What's the exemptions for the life of the baby?
If it's going to kill the mother, then it should be medically necessary. That's it.
Nothing on the baby.
Nothing else.
Nothing else. Okay, so there are scenarios where like a baby will have no heart or something like this. It'll be developing improperly.
You're going to know that. I mean, there might be some medical. There might be some medical necessity where because first of all, if a baby's forming with
you're basically taking Louisiana's position because that's what Louisiana has
a
ban on abortion, except for medically. I forget what the term is, but
it's got to be full. It's got to be provably medically necessary. Otherwise, we're murdering people. I mean, that's really the truth of the situation in the United States today is we're murdering unborn babies every day, 1 million a year. That's got to stop. And if we don't have somebody who's going to stand up and denormalize this practice, and so we can get into all the hypotheticals you want, that's fine. But the truth of the matter is that 99% of the babies murdered in the United States today are perfectly fine, healthy babies.
This is what I find frustrating is I get it. You can say it 1 million times. I'm trying to understand what is the practical application of a law you would make. What does it do? How does it affect society? Just saying abortion is bad, we want to get rid of it. Totally agree. Totally get it. Now
you do agree. You agree that we should get rid of
elective abortions are bad. I've said them all the time. Nice. Yeah, I think.
I thought you were more pro-choice than that before when we had argued before.
Yeah, the issue being that in the case of rape and incest, I think where we would be, regardless of my opinion on what you should or shouldn't allow someone to do, is that the 14th Amendment would require a judge to sign off on every abortion. That is not what I think society should be doing, but that is what the Constitution.
We don't typically
dictates.
punish the children of criminals by death either. So that's something that we need to think about in society as well. When we're talking about exceptions, we don't typically punish the children of criminals.
The 14th Amendment needs to be. The Supreme Court needs to answer this: are the unborn persons?
Right.
Because it draws a distinction between what a citizen and what a person is under the Constitution, and that persons cannot have their life, liberty, or property taken or hindered without due process.
Do you get a double homicide if you kill a pregnant woman?
Depends on the
Sometimes.
state.
Yeah.
Sometimes. It depends on the state.
So I mean, there's definitely places where they've already said that's a person.
If that's the case, then the unborn have personhood, and a judge will have to sign off on the approval of an abortion. And that's the 14th Amendment. I believe the 14th Amendment, interpreted properly, would ban abortion in almost all circumstances. Here's what I don't like about conservatives is that they say rape and incest. And I say, why is incest banned? A rape I get. You're making an argument about a woman who did not consent to give her body and the government being restricted on whether it can force that woman to give her body to someone else. But incest?
Right.
Like if a brother and a sister have a kid, I mean, it's gross and it's bad for a lot of reasons.
It's degenerate as hell.
Well, and
But
some
do you
people for a
sentence the
long
baby
time
of
felt
incest
like
to death?
if a baby born of incest would have all kinds of health issues.
Right.
Like it wouldn't
Not
be
an
able
argument.
to recover. I'm not saying I agree. I've just heard that as presented.
When the conservatives say rape and incest, I'm saying the incest thing has no moral argument other than icky.
Yep. Yeah.
Like there's negative consequences, dramatic negative consequences to incest. But if we're talking about two consenting siblings, which I think is a bad thing, and they have a baby. Why make an exception to kill that baby in the circumstances, irrespective of its medical conditions? If the argument is if the baby is suffering from severe deformity, it opens the door to it. Well, then we have a medical argument. But if the issue is the baby appears to be healthy in every way, but it's an incest baby, so kill it, that doesn't make sense.
Here's my last point on this, because I know you and I like to argue this every time I come here. It's usually on the members only show, but here's my last point on this is that we let the left throw these the same hypotheticals that other people bring up too, the rape, the incest, the medical necessity. We're talking about less than 1% of those abortions. We let the left beat us on these issues with 1% hypothetical. Okay, we let the left beat us on these issues. We've got to stand strong in these. We got to stop mincing words. We got to not lose the war on language. And the only way to do that is to call it what it is. It's baby murder, and it's become normalized in the United States, and we've got to stop it.
I'm actually really surprised. A lot of people in the chat are pro-choice.
Oh, I'm sure that there's probably libertarians watching.
They're saying
that, 'cause
I'm
here.
wrong, and if a baby is conceived of incest, it should be aborted. There should be an exception to kill it.
Yeah, well, those people are
would you agree?
wrong.
But if a baby is conceived of incest, you shouldn't kill it, right?
I don't think you should kill it.
I don't think you should kill babies at all.
I think it's
I've been very clear about that.
Do you know where I think we're going to have?
I don't think I've gotten any clear. I don't think I can be any clearer. I don't think babies should be murdered.
I honestly think the incest question will become more prevalent over the next couple decades because there are so many cases of sperm donors who are like, you hear these cases of like fertility doctors who use their sperm and suddenly they're like, I have 500 siblings and we actually all grew up in in the same state. Like, I wonder if this will be something we confront
right here
as a
in West
society.
Virginia. You can just do a poll.
Hey.
I think the thing that I find frustrating with the abortion issue is that I typically find a lot of people are unwilling to state their actual opinions on how to do it because there's no. It is the moral equivalent of like a gigantic spear. There's no fence. There's no dead man's land. There's no middle ground. There's no compromise. There is either the abortion side or the no abortion side. And so there's a lot of people in politics. We had one guy on the show who refused to say abortion was murder, and pro-life guy. And because he's worried about the
optics.
Right. Of what it's going to be when people see him say that, how it affects him
that's the
politically.
same thing. Listen, this is when Donald Trump came out with this kind of wishy-washy.
I know Kerry Lake did it too.
Yeah, they all came out with these wishy-washy things, and then all of a sudden the Republicans were like, "Well, it's an issue we can't win on." And I said very clearly too, look, if you can't,
hey guys, I'm sorry. Like the chat is
fine.
Is very adamant that
It says a lot about the culture. To me.
It says a lot about the culture.
Pro-life people are saying if babies are conceived of incest, they should be aborted.
Listen to me.
If you think it's murder,
if you're going to be wishy-washy on this issue because you think you can't win on this issue, then you don't deserve to win. I'm sorry.
I completely agree.
If you're running for a government position and you can't win on protecting unborn lives, then you shouldn't win. I'm sorry, you should lose.
I mean, it's ridiculous to me that Trump and Kerry Lake are now just saying safe, legal, and rare in a new 2024 way.
They're parroting the left. We're losing that war because we keep compromising on these issues.
This is what I think though. Like, no offense to all the politicians, but like nothing's gonna fix it because this has to be a cultural thing. Because we're dealing with a cult of nihilism.
And you can't win the culture war if you mince your words and start saying the same narrative as your opponents.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
It's going to have to come from the bottom up.
The chat's getting really mad because I'm reading and I said, why is there an exception? Why do conservatives have an exception for incest? And they're all saying, Tim, you're wrong. You're wrong about this position. And I'm like, okay, so you're saying that babies of incest should be aborted or could be aborted? And I'm like, no, we're not saying that at all. It's like, I know not each individual is saying things, but like overwhelmingly people are saying, I am wrong to suggest that when like I've heard Ben Shapiro talk about it, abortion exceptions for rape and incest. And I'm like, why incest? Like I get it. Incest is very bad.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make a Ben Shapiro joke. That's all right.
But
I'm not going to make a Ben Shapiro and his sister joke. I'm not going to do it.
I do think too, outside of this, like let's just like move into general politics for like libertarianism and otherwise. Is a lot of people just want to assert a moral position they haven't thought about, or they hold moral positions without logic. And so if, I'm trying to look at a law and understand the logic behind it and why it makes sense, because two pieces have to fit together. That's important for how the Supreme Court answers things. For example, in the oral arguments on presidential immunity, one of the things that Trump's lawyers were arguing is that you must interpret it this way, because if you don't, here's a list of laws that will break if you change the interpretation of immunity. And the general concept idea is arguing one facet of law is or code or anything like that could have negative impacts across the board in all of the other written law. So that's why the logic of the law makes sense, and the application of it and its nuances are extremely important to break down. But a lot of people will be like, you shouldn't be allowed to do this thing. And I say, okay, if you ban this, then over here, this law breaks. So like, what do you do in this instance? And there are a lot of people who don't actually have a logic plan for this.
It's what Thomas Sowell says, though. There's no solutions, only trade-offs.
What exemptions do we make for murder?
Self-defense.
Correct. Right.
Defense of yourself and defense of others.
Sure. So so we should make those same exceptions for baby murder. If you're gonna die or you're in grave bodily danger, then there should be an exception. If not, it's murder.
Well, that's interesting too, because here's a scenario for you. A guy is how can we break this down? A guy is driving a self-driving car, and the car goes out of control. Oh, actually, I got a real world example. A guy was driving a car. This actually happened, and the car randomly accelerated. There was a defect with certain vehicles where the accelerator would just punch it. And he rear-ended a family and killed 3 of the family members.
Right.
They put him in prison. Someone's driving a car, and the car goes out of control. You as a bystander are seeing the car move towards an old lady. Do you think it is legally permissible to kill the man in the car? The only way to stop him is to, do something that will cause...
This is an old argument brought up by Walter Block a long time ago, by the way.
So the reason I'm mentioning is that you said the self-defense for the life, to defend the life of a person, or right to defend yourself or the life of another person.
Do you have the right to kill an innocent person to protect other people? It's the trolley car problem, right? It's the same.
Well, I don't know. I don't think innocent person is the right word. I'm saying...
If he's in a car that malfunctioned, it's an accident, and he's an innocent person.
So someone accidentally, it drops something and it's about to kill somebody, and the only way you can save the other person is to kill the person who was involved in the accident, right?
Right.
The car is out of control. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's not intentionally trying to kill someone. Is it still self-defense to kill that person, even though there's no murder?
Probably
no
not, because you're still killing an innocent person. Now, if the people in the other car were my family, I'm probably going to do it, right? Just like you would murder somebody to protect your family. But this is getting totally to the trolley car conundrum, right? Like, where do I have the right to kill the one person to save the 5 people?
It's Jack Bauer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and no, you don't. Morally, you don't have the right to kill an innocent person, even if you think it's going to save other lives. And now we're getting into World War II territory and the atomic bombs, and which has also been an argument for a long time.
Another thing I don't agree with.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.